Hey, this is Mark Pasha, co-founder and CEO of Robbins Training. And in this video, you're going to learn a new and powerful way to change lives, both your own life and the lives of your clients. You'll learn about an amazing opportunity that you have right now to learn rapid change strategies that will complement your current interest in NLP and allow you to help more people in a deeper way. You'll learn how these strategies can help you to bring more positive changes to your clients, working hand in hand with what you already do. And so whether you're an NLP practitioner or you work every day with people professionally or personally, or even if you're just really excited by the idea of truly becoming one of the very best in the world at changing lives and creating rapid breakthrough in yourself and others, this presentation is for you. So in our last video, we saw how Tony did a big NLP intervention with Mandy, who was suffering from trauma and anxiety. By the way, if you haven't seen that video yet, it's important that you see it. So click on the link on this page to video 1 to watch it. It's something you should really see because we'll be referring to it. In it, Tony takes a woman who had suffered a terrible shock. Her little daughter had had an accident in a go-kart on their farm property and nearly died. Since the accident, Mandy found herself more and more entangled in a web of terribly painful emotions. These were causing damage to her marriage, her relationship with her mother, her relationship with her kids, forcing her to leave her job as a nurse, and were really pushing all of her relationships to the breaking point. Now, in the intervention that you saw, Tony went to the center of her trauma and anxiety and used the classic NLP strategy for eliminating phobias. And this brings us to the question I'm often asked about Tony Robbins, and that question is what Tony's practicing NLP? And if I want to learn what Tony's doing, is NLP training the way to go? And that's a great question. We'll answer that right here. Because the biggest thing I hear from coaches who have been studying NLP is that there's a gap between the NLP techniques that they know and the real life situations and contexts that they're working in their clients. They often ask me, how do I find the opportunity to use the NLP strategies I just learned? Like, here's what I mean. If you were to go to a chiropractor, the context is pretty simple. Your back hurts. The chiropractor uses specific techniques to readjust it, right? The patient points to where it hurts and the chiropractor gets right to work. And that's the context of doing chiropractic. The doctor only needs to know where in your body the pain is showing up. And by investigating your structure and figuring out some things from their training, they can devise the right technique to use. Now, when people come to a coach looking for help, it's very different. They come in with problems with other people. They have goals they want to attain that will take learning and hard work. They have emotions and experiences that they want to understand. They have dreams and aspirations to inspire them. And with all that, sometimes connecting the dots from problem A to technique B isn't so simple. I mean, after all, clients don't come in the door saying, I have a pattern that needs to be scrambled. They generally come in saying something like, I'm feeling really sad about my career. My wife seems to be losing patience with me and my kids are acting out. So the coach needs to navigate all the client's real world requests and figure out what is the thing that can be done right now to help them. You see, one criticism I often hear about NLP is that NLP is often taught as if you were conducting surgery. Like, I'm an NLP practitioner and I'm going to reach right into the client and find the patterns that aren't working, and then I'm going to remove them, install them or disinstall them or scramble them. And not all NLP is taught this way, to be fair, but it's a fairly common attitude, right? And so the problem with this attitude is that it puts a lot of pressure on the NLP practitioner. Coaching isn't surgery. Coaching is a conversation, and conversations follow a certain natural progression, right? The client comes in with a request, we learn what they're working on, then coach and client are collaborating on how to help the client most. Also, as the client develops more trust, they share more. Can you see how this is a very different relationship than surgery, right? There's no ticking clock. As a coach, you're not responsible for scrambling or eliminating a client's problems. You're not even responsible for their results, right? Your role is to work with them, to understand them, and strategically empower them to help themselves. So if you've ever felt intimidated by the way that NLP is taught sometimes, don't worry. Now, here's another reason why NLP practitioners sometimes feel challenged: the client's relationships. In particular, there's something as coaches that we all need to remember, and that's that while we may do some great one-on-one coaching with a person, when we're done with the session, they're going to go back to their home environment, right? They go back to their family, to their work, to their friends. And their home environments have a lot of influence on them. They have a whole set of relationships that are complicated and that affect their entire life. Children, spouses, parents, friends, work relationships, and moreover, the different areas of their life interfere with each other sometimes. Their fitness problems are related to their relationship problems, which are related to their work problems. So if you think of someone who has started with NLP like Tony Robbins, he discovered strategies that were incredibly useful. They jump-started his career. But as he grew as a coach, he found himself in more and more situations where an NLP tool was not the main solution. And he found himself doing higher and higher profile coaching with leaders of countries and entertainment icons, sports legends who needed breakthroughs and to create results right away, and he had to reach for a different set of tools. He needed a real-world approach that would navigate the different areas of his client's life and find the fastest way to help the person. So let's talk about what Tony does and what we do as coaches that's different from NLP. Let's take the example of Tony's work with Mandy and the NLP technique that Tony used. And let's draw it on the screen here. We've got Tony, we have Mandy. Now, for many years, when people taught coaching or NLP, they presented it as a situation with two people, the client and the practitioner. And much NLP and coaching is still taught like there's this bubble around the client and the practitioner. Now, here's how Tony's different. Tony had to create the right context for this phobia strategy. Remember context? Tony realized that there is more going on in Mandy's life. The anxiety doesn't happen in a vacuum. So we have Mandy and Tony. Don't forget Mandy's relationships with her children. Don't forget Mandy's husband and their communication. Mandy's mother-in-law. Mandy's mother. But now let's add the other relationships, the relationship between Mandy's mother and her children and her husband. Are you starting to see what kind of context we live in? There's a lot going on. So before Tony ever did this NLP phobia cure with Mandy, he did some other things first. He strengthened Mandy's husband, Scott, so he felt more empowered in taking care of the children and reassuring them. He used strategies to bring Mandy and Scott closer together because they were in a crisis point. He met privately with Mandy's mother. Why? Because she had become so protective of the children and critical of Scott, he got her to stand down and support Mandy and Scott in their marriage. And these are what we call structural problems in the relationships. The husband and wife relationship wasn't working. The husband and mother-in-law relationship wasn't working. The father-mother-children relationships weren't working. Only after Tony had adjusted these structural problems, only then was Mandy in a place that an NLP phobia cure had the right context to help her. You see, Tony knows that if he goes straight to help Mandy with her phobia cure while ignoring the rest of her life, the coaching wouldn't have worked. He would be overlooking the main thing that Mandy needed to change. So imagine that Mandy had come to you for coaching and all you knew how to do was a phobia cure. Well, you'd be ignoring the most important areas of her life. Your phobia cure would probably feel out of context. And even if you did do a strategy on Mandy and it worked during the session, she'd be going back to her home environment where nothing had changed. So to answer the question, is Tony using NLP? The answer is yes and no. He's using NLP 20% of the time. But the rest of the time, he's using a Robbins brand of coaching. And coaching is all about meeting the client right where they are now to start bridging the gaps and creating change, and to make sure that change is effective within that person's network of relationships. And if you have the ability to walk in and help someone like this to find a strategic solution no matter what the problem is, then you have a huge advantage over other NLP practitioners. This is why Tony Robbins has been able to achieve massive success as a coach to the elite, US presidents and celebrities and world leaders. And while Tony is known as the father of life coaching, in truth, what we know as coaching began about 75 years ago with Milton Erickson. Now, Erickson was revolutionary because he broke away from the traditional doctor-patient framework of psychology and therapy. Instead of looking at a patient in terms of their origin story, their childhood, or analyzing their id or their ego, Erickson threw all that out the window and he started helping people exactly who they were, where they were. Erickson looked at a person, saw what they were looking to accomplish, the obstacles holding them back, and helped them to create the change they wanted without making anyone feel like they were a patient with a condition. Erickson's motto could be called, "Everything you need is within you now." And Erickson went on to become the greatest psychotherapeutic practitioner of the 20th century. He would work with the most hopeless psychiatric patients and get them to be responsive and healthy. He would save marriages. He'd help people overcome any kind of phobia or textbook psychiatric issue. And he did this by leading them through dialogue on a journey that would help them discover what they could really do to make their life even more of what they want. And for many years, nobody knew about Erickson. Then one man named Jay Haley discovered him and studied him for 12 years until he could understand how Erickson was able to do what he did. Jay wrote the first book on Erickson and everything changed. Many people came to study Erickson to try to figure out what he was doing. And in fact, Ericksonian studies led to the development of many new schools of therapy. and each one took a small piece of Erickson's techniques and focused on that. For example, Bandler and Grinder studied Erickson and focused on the concept of patterns. Their idea was, we don't need everything that Erickson is doing, let's just focus on patterns. And this eventually became NLP. Then Jay Haley and Chloe Madonis focused on a different aspect of Erickson's work, the fact that he worked strategically and systemically and founded strategic family therapy. Now here's where it gets interesting. One of Grinder's and Bandler's top students was Tony Robbins, and he learned everything he could learn about NLP. Then he moved on to study every form of psychology and change work that he could find. In fact, Tony was kind of frustrated for many years because he was constantly growing and learning new strategies, but everyone around him thought he was just doing NLP. People couldn't see what he was actually doing. Then Tony discovered Chloe Madonis, who had been married to Jay Haley, the man who discovered Erickson, and Chloe was also one of Erickson's personal friends and proteges who had developed strategic family therapy with Jay. And Chloe looked at what Tony was doing and said, I understand what you're doing. This isn't NLP. This comes from Erickson. Chloe invited Magali, Pesha, and myself, and we had been working and studying Ericksonian strategies for 10 years at that point. And when we saw Tony's work, we agreed. We said, this isn't NLP. Tony's doing Ericksonian work. And the four of us became partners. And our goal was simple. We were going to create a practical approach to change that used everything that Erickson did, everything that Tony did, everything that Chloe did, and everything that we did. We wanted this approach to be taught as something that anyone can learn to understand. So anyone who studied with us could learn to understand people and help them and create change more powerfully than ever before. And so yes, NLP is part of what we teach. And we know that NLP works, but a real pervasive change needs more than that. And these strategies are designed to help someone change quickly no matter what their obstacles are. Wouldn't you like to be someone who steps in with a great deal of certainty that you knew how to help a client, whether it was about money or relationships or conflicts or emotions or disagreements? You'd say, bring it on, I can handle it all. And you'd have the confidence to know that you can deliver on that promise because you know the right techniques to create rapid change. That's the difference that this level of strategy can make in your coaching ability, and why it makes so much more sense to add them to your toolbox so you can offer so much more to your clients. So what I want to share with you today is that change, that ability to create breakthroughs and handle any situations, it begins with you right here, right now. And if you want to be able to help others, it makes sense to first help yourself. So this is actually a 3-stage process that we see in the majority of our students. Stage 1, personal breakthrough. When you get an amazing new insight into yourself, your eyes open and you see what you can do and you start to experience it. You start to see this spill over and affect everything in life, from your work to your relationships, in a positive way. Stage 2 is new results. You start to get the emotional satisfaction and power of seeing that you can create transformations in the people around you. And stage 3, professional application. When you take the strategies that work for you and you combine them with your area of expertise, you bring a whole new level of transformation to your clients. You start bringing powerful change to anyone you choose to help. You now have a whole new set of tools that work together with what you already do, so that you can make your coaching that much more powerful. Now, over the years, you may have heard or watched Tony Robbins successfully helping thousands of people at his life events. People with all kinds of problems, self-esteem, to parenting issues, becoming more fit, relationship problems, you name it. But because Tony is skilled in our approach, he can help anybody from top sports people to leaders of nations to ordinary men and women who just want a better life. And he's been doing this consistently for more than 30 years because he's developed a method for quickly figuring out what's going on with someone, what they need, and what he can do to help them. But it's not just Tony. Our partner Chloe Madonis has been for 30 years considered one of the top 30 therapists in the world, studying under Erickson herself. Chloe also practices these same strategies to create rapid, profound results when facing any kind of life challenge. Magali Pesha, who's a co-founder of Robbins Madonis Training and one of the main teachers at RMT, also creates remarkable transformations in people, often within just a few minutes. She has her own particular style, and you'll see that as well. And myself, Mark Pesha, I can handle pretty much any human problem you throw at me by using these strategies. You see, this is a method for creating rapid change in yourself and then in others, so you can help anybody with anything. And you can do the same amazing things with your clients. So that's kind of what makes our training at Robbins Madonis so unique. Our mission is to help you and give you a training that you need to become a well-rounded coach with a whole new skill set, to enrich your income significantly, and to contribute in the way that fulfills your true purpose in life and makes the world a better place because of it. Now, in our next video, you're going to get a special video report on coaching using our approach. You'll understand how to make that transition yourself, creating those changes in your life and becoming more and more powerful to help those around you. So please make sure you open emails from Robbins Been Honest Training, and we'll see you soon.